Hey guys, Allison here. Well, today I want to talk about raising girls in this culture. It is really tough. I grew up at a time when my mother always emphasized being a lady, but we don't hear that too much. And I think that with social media, with all the sexualization of young girls, it's really hard for a girl to find her place in society right now, right? I think the feminist movement had maybe some good intentions, some I think nefarious intentions, but I think that so much of it was like we have to be like men, and there is such a genius in being a woman. So I have invited my good friend Chantal Howard. She's a accomplished life coach. She's one of our founding members at catholiclifecoaches.com, and she is launching something I am so excited about: Catholic Finishing School for Girls. I know it sounds really old-fashioned, but it is so needed today. So let me just toss it to Chantal. Chantal, tell us, what is Catholic Finishing School and why did you create it?
Perfect. Well, thank you, Allison. It's such a joy. We have such a long-standing relationship that I feel like I'm just at home in your presence. Of course, it's
exactly.
a real treat to be here. And to be honest, like you said, today's culture is just steeped in confusion about what it means to be a woman, about what it means to be human. And so Catholic Finishing School was bred out of my own life experience. I've been really privileged and blessed to have a bit of an alternative experience in the midst of this culture. I myself was homeschooled, and I credit a lot of what I'm doing to my own mother, who raised us with the perspective of being in the world, but not of it, and gave me a lot of I didn't realize it until later, until I was raising my own girls, but she gave me a lot of romantic ideas. And those romantic ideas, what I mean by that, classic, timeless, and aspiring. And those types of ideas and those types of mores and things like that were handed down primarily just to soften my tomboy nature. Let's be honest. I was a hardcore tomboy and an extreme athlete most of my childhood. And I could see her in my teen years just simply saying, there's something higher here. And it's tied to loving our Lord and Our Lady. And then from there, I've progressed into being a mom of 7. So I have 5 girls of my own, 3 of whom are now adults, and then 2 boys in the mix there as well, and some younger little ones coming up the way still. But honestly, this was bred out of my own need and my own experience.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. It's interesting too, because as I know Chantal, she's not a little delicate flower. It's interesting because I think that, so we often get the wrong impression to be a lady or to be a woman in this culture. We're expected to be so tough. And like you are there's a fierceness, I think. I think that there should be like a fierce femininity in all of us, in a protective sense, in a maternal sense, and you definitely exemplify that. But you've also been very entrepreneurial, and I love that. And I think that, I always think of the Proverbs woman, she was amazing, the virtuous wife. She had her business, she reached out her arms to the poor. That's what we're called to be. We really, I think that's kind of what feminism tries to give us, but in a really bad form. So I think that as Catholic women and embracing that identity, we have so much power. I always have to laugh at people that want that power. They want to sit at the power seat. And I was always, when I used to be in commercial real estate, I never sat at the head of the table. Let them feel like they're in control. I knew what I can do on the deal, and that was it. So there's a certain power in our femininity. So tell us about Catholic Finishing School. Like, what are girls going to get? Like, who is it for? And what are they going to get out of this experience? And I just want to say one thing, and I should have said this before. As a therapist, and in this world of psychology and even coaching, not all psychologists and not all therapists are equal. We have to have the right view of the human person, view of the woman, view of femininity. And I think there's a great danger today in just picking any therapist, because there are different views of the human person, different views on human sexuality, on everything today. So what I love about what Chantal is doing is that as a Catholic mom out there, you can know that Chantal is not going to undermine any values that you're trying to inculcate in your kids. That's so important that I think, especially today, it's always helpful for young young people, boys and girls, to have other people other than their parents, whether it's an aunt, an uncle, an older cousin, an older sister, that can also be kind of supportive of what mom and dad are trying to do. Especially
Yes,
because the
absolutely.
culture sows so much distrust in parents today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really ugly what they're doing. Like, think about Planned Parenthood, come to us instead of to your parents. So
Right.
I think by having other people that girls and boys can look up to, it's really powerful. And Chantal is solid as a rock. And everybody knows Catholic therapists, Catholic life coaches, I screen everybody very, very carefully to make sure that they really are in line with the faith and what the faith teaches about the human person and about morality. So tell us about Catholic Finishing School. Who's it for? What are girls going to get out of this?
Well, first of all, thank you. That's an honor. I do really take that role seriously. And I think that Catholic Finishing School is exactly what you described. Another voice reiterating what moms are already telling their daughters, but are oftentimes not able to communicate in a way that is as easily received. And that's just part of what it means to be a teenager, is there is this beginning to emerge into your own personhood. And so having those trusted voices is important. So Catholic Finishing School is, yes, diehard Catholic, first of all, for 14 to 19-year-olds. And within that scope, there's a lot that happens, 14-year-olds to 19-year-olds. And I've decided, even though the content is the same for both, that I'm going to coach them individually. So there's a group coaching program where 14 to 16-year-olds can be in a room. And then 17 to 19-year-olds can be in a room, because 17 to 19-year-olds are talking about things that on a more mature level than the 14 to 16-year-olds who are still just trying to discover who they are.
Right.
And so we go through 12 primary lessons, and those lessons include, and start first of all with the foundation of the theology of the body, who you are as a woman, God's imprint of his image on you as a woman. And to kind of point back to what you were saying earlier, the world has been so busy teaching women how to be men that we have to learn what it means to be a woman. And we can only do that when we properly understand how God created us in our original nature and in our original goodness and worth. So we're going to start there. And then we're going to build some practical skills. We're going to talk about poise. We're going to talk about how to speak, how to hold ourselves. A little bit of a nod back to old school finishing school, because we see young girls today who struggle to know how to let their feminine nature shine without feeling awkward, without feeling weird. Like I say, it's the skill of not being weird. I'm going to teach you how to make friends, how to have those conversations that elevate you and make you feel fully alive in who you are. And we're going to talk about things like culture, media. What does it mean to be a cultured Catholic? It's what do you consume? Why? Why should you make choices towards good music and good art versus just settling for the status quo of what the culture is feeding you? Right. We're going to talk about relationships, purity. We're going to talk about what it means to flirt virtuously, if there's such a thing. I like the winsome kind of old school language sometimes, because it helps, again, create a new paradigm in their mind and a new feeling that they can explore within that scope of what it means to still remain modest, to remain reserved, and at the same time, like you said, fierce and tender. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how you can still be an athlete, how you can still roll up your sleeves and swing a sledgehammer if you need to. You could build a chicken coop. You could do whatever it is God calls you to. And there's a lot of those tasks that are right for women to do. When you're raising children, there is no frail, prissy, she la la left. You have to get in there. And so we do need to develop a strength, but also to do so with tenderness and nurturing, because that's at the heart of what it means to be a woman, is to nurture. So that and so much more, discernment, vocation, all of these things are topics that young girls need, and in a way that is hopefully practical and skill driven, so that they can leave really feeling like maybe they've received a lot of education, but this is formation.
I think that is key. And I think, it's interesting. I just think that there is so much power in femininity. You think about, like how men will go out of their way for the woman they love. And I know Chantal's husband is Dr. Peter Howard, an expert on Fulton Sheen, who's my spiritual mentor. But the world's first love just talked about the power that Mary is that woman that every man loves when he loves a woman. And then how can we be more like that? Because I think especially for young men today, they don't encounter this too often, and they will move heaven and earth to please somebody that they really respect and they have on the pedestal. And I think, like you said, we've been taught to be men. We've jumped off the pedestal. And it's not an egotistical thing, but to just have that power. And I hope somebody does a Catholic finishing school for men now, because
Yes, I do too.
yeah, I mean, young boys, I mean, they don't necessarily know how to be. I think they want to be better and they don't really know how. But I think, traditionally women have civilized men. All right. Women have civilized the culture. And when we fall, the whole culture falls with us. So I love what you're doing. When's it starting? How do they sign up? I'm going to put in the show notes below this video, but tell us.
Yeah, so head over to catholicfinishingschool.com and registration is open, enrollment is open. The first classes will actually drop September 22nd. So right now there's a special entry-level deal. So you can buy the course by itself and self-study through it on your own, and with your daughter, you could do it kind of in tandem. I'm actually adding in some specific resources just for moms so that they have extra support that they themselves can fill in some of their gaps. And then the coaching component, the live coaching call once a month with me, starts right there at the end of September into the first week of October. And then we'll continue. Once you have the coaching upsell, if you want that little upgrade, if you want to do that, that is a lifetime of between 14 and 19. So as long as your daughter fits within that age bracket, she's welcome to attend those coaching calls. And I think that's going to be a place where they can ask questions anonymously or, receive support face-to-face with me.
Which I think is invaluable. And I just want to point out, it is so reasonably priced for lifetime access. So anybody who's listening, Chantal, how much is it going to be to join Catholic Finishing School with and without the coaching component?
Yeah, right now it's $77 for the course. $97 is the normal price, so it's on sale. So that's a little discount. And then $297 is typically the cost for the coaching, and that's also discounted right now. I actually don't remember what we knocked that down to, but it's probably $50 off, something about like that. So yeah, you can run over and grab that in the website.
Right, and that is a steal, because I just want to say this. If you don't do this and really help girls to become who they're supposed to be, therapy is a lot more expensive. So you think of this as almost like being proactive. Like, how do I help her to embrace who she is with whatever God is calling her to? Like Chantal said, you want to build a chicken coop, you can do that, right? I don't want to. But you can, and there's a lot of things that, women are called to. And we look at some of the examples of the saints. They were very tough, some of them.
Yes,
for sure. They really, so it's a steal. If you have teenage daughters, teenage granddaughters, if you know people who have kids in that category, check out CatholicFinishingSchool.com. And I'll tell you, I have total confidence in Chantal. When I saw she was doing it, I was so excited. I'm like, I got to let my list know about this. This is awesome. So Chantal, thanks so much. And we'll do this again soon.
Wonderful. I can't wait to be back on and to continue the conversation. Lots of love.
God bless you.